here it comes. Wait. Yeah, once again, feel free to use the chat to ask any questions you have, or feel free to communicate with other people in the room, and have a nice, session. Oh, hello Wong, hello Hang Wong, and Jerusha. I'm so sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Hello, welcome. We will be starting shortly. For now, please feel free to use the chat.
Okay.
Oh, whoa. There comes a car. Okay. Hello guys, welcome. Hello. Good day. How you guys doing? Thank you guys for coming.
Just finished working.
Yeah. Wow. After a long day. Do you work from home?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you in Japan right now?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Where do you live? May I ask?
新可以わ。
新小岩。
そう。
ハンさん、long time no see.
久しぶり。
久しぶりですね。How are you?
Quite good.
Yeah, good.
Oh, thank you for joining us today. Oh, you knew Sakamoto-san?
So.
Yeah, once we have.
She approached me last year.
Ah, なるほど.
Thank you
That's
for
so
coming.
cool. Thank you guys for spending
I
time
just want to get more information.
Yeah, I hope I can give you guys the hello who just joined us. Sorry. I hope I can give you guys the useful information about startups today, but I cannot cover everything. So hello. Yes, I can. Yes, awesome. Oh, okay. Okay. Sure. I'm sorry, but we're going to start very soon. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat, and our staff will collect all the questions. At the end, we'll do a Q&A session. So yeah, feel free to ask anything during the presentation in the chat. So yeah. Oh, more people coming in. Yeah. So hello, welcome. Hello, welcome. Yeah, so we're going to start very soon as the time is 7. Hello. Oh, another person. Hello, Felicia. Hello. Welcome. Just give me a second. There's some technical issues here. Yeah, once again, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask in the chat. Or we have Jellyfish staff in the room as well. I'm just going to introduce them quickly. We have Nadia-san, also from Jellyfish. And then we have Sakamoto-san, also a career advisor or career consultant from Jellyfish. And then we have Hugh-san, who is our IT engineer. And then we have Jellyfish Emma-san, who is also career consultant at Jellyfish. And they will be helping to answer some of the questions you guys might have today. And during the presentation, feel free to ask any questions. And our staff will pick up those questions. And at the end, we'll do a Q&A session. So hopefully I can answer as many questions as I can. I cannot cover everything, of course. Oh, hello, Islam. Hello. Sorry, and there are people coming in. Okay. Hello. Thank you for spending time with us today. Okay. So are you guys ready? Since the clock is already in 7, as we have more people coming. Okay. So let's see. I need to make my friend. My colleague host first. Just give me a second. Okay, can you guys see the presentation scene or screen? Okay. Feel free to use the chat if you don't have a mic. Okay, awesome. Then shall we start? Yeah, thank you guys. Okay, let's get going then. Thank you guys for joining us here today. My name is William, and we'll be here today to present to you about IT startups in Japan, and the startup scene in Japan and how things has been for the recent year, and why you should pay more attention to IT startups instead of just large corporation. When we say Japanese company, some of you might only think of like Rakuten and so on, but there's so much more exciting thing about working at an IT startup company. So I want to introduce you guys to that, and hopefully give you guys a overview over how the IT startup scene is in Japan. Also, a little bit about Jellyfish. Jellyfish has worked with IT startups mainly for a long time now, and we have helped many IT startup companies find the correct candidate and so on. We are basically a recruitment agency, but our specialty is in IT, in foreign IT engineers, because as you can see, I'm foreigner myself, so I want to help my fellow foreigner in Japan because it's quite difficult to find a job, right? And through all of that, I hope to give you an idea why working at the IT startup companies can be a shortcut to your, to your career goal and so on. So a little bit about myself. My name is William. I'm originally from Norway, even though I might not look like that. I'm originally from Norway, and I am a career consultant at Jellyfish, and I specialized in the IT field, also game development or gaming industry. And the purpose of today's oh, sorry. Let's see. Oh, it's okay. Okay. Let's see. So give me a second. I think I made a mistake here. Okay. So the purpose of today's webinar is to help you understand the IT startup scene in Japan more, as I mentioned. And so when you're actually looking for a job in Japan, you're interested in working in Japan, you don't just look for a big corporation like Rakuten, Google, or Sony, and so on and so forth. Because in fact, 99.7% of Japanese companies are middle or to small sizes. They like to work in small groups. And when you heard like big corporation, it's like only 0.3% of the whole IT market. So therefore, it's something you should think of when you look for a job in Japan. And through the presentation, I hope to clear up some of the bad things you heard about IT startups, and make sure that you have the correct image of what it is to work on startup companies. Okay, so let's move on. So today's agenda is like this. We'll go through IT tech startups in general first, and then hopefully I can answer some of the myths and burst some of the myths you might have about IT startups, and then explain some of the stereotypes and so on. And then explain a little bit how joining a startups can be a shortcut to a greater career. And then at the end, like I mentioned during the presentation, feel free to ask any questions. And as I'm not able to answer them on the fly, at the end we'll have Q&A session and open discussion to hopefully make some connection here. Since we are all here today by accident, maybe no. Yeah, hopefully we can have a good relation afterwards as well. So let's go. Let's move on. So at first, I want to explain a little bit about how IT startups in general works. This is more of the business side of things. So some of you might not be familiar with the idea. So I'm just gonna explain it really quickly. So IT startups usually has these 5 main phrases or even more, but these 5 phrases are like the standard. Most companies go through them. So at the very start, you can start on the left side. If I can open a pointer here, this here. This is the pre-seed stage. This is usually when a entrepreneur find his partner, a co-founder, and some IT engineers. They start planning out what they want to build. And usually startup companies at this stage is relatively unstable because CEO have to invest a lot of money in it, and IT engineers have to make a product that might and might not be successful. So usually IT startups at this stage does not hire people. They basically don't have the budget to hire too many IT engineers at this stage. So therefore, the risk joining a IT startup company at this stage is quite risky. It's like, helping a baby to get successful. You don't know if the baby is going to be, a successful person or not. Maybe it's a bad person. You never know. So, and usually after the planning and they have decide what product they want to make, it goes on to the next stage, which is the seed stage. At this stage, usually the risk is a bit lower, but there is still a small risk there of the company collapsing or anything like that. Usually at this stage, they have a product that they can test it out and have customer using it. And usually they have a small but steady customer base, and they start getting a lot of feedback about how they can improve their product and bring it to the right direction. Usually a lot of companies goes wrong on this stage. If the company able to make it out of this stage, they get to the Series A. This is like the golden era of many IT startups, because here is where they actually able to expand their product and have a steady stream of revenue coming in as investor and venture capitals start investing in them. And in Japanese, we call this stage early because it's still really early of the IT startup, but it's like the golden era of an IT startup company. So if you're a person that want to invest in the company as you work as you work at that company, then early stage IT startups might be something for you. But if you're that type of person that wants to be a little bit more stable for job security sake or anything like that, then maybe Series B is something for you, and Series C. So when a company as Series A make it out of the Series B, this is basically the same idea. Their product is stable, they know where they're going, and they still have a steady flow of revenue, and they're getting more and more customer to test out their product, right? And then what's exciting is the later stage, which is like Series C. At this stage, usually company start getting getting invested by large corporation as well, because we have to admit, like our large corporation, they have the capital, right? But they don't necessarily have the tech. So a lot of large corporation actually at this stage trying to absorb those IT startups or trying to collaborate with them and invest in those companies. So usually companies grows a lot between Series B and Series C. And Series A, B, C, this stage are relatively stable and really safe to join because they know where the product is going. And when a product is there, it's easier to improve it than just make a product from zero, right? So that's something to think about when you look for IT startups in Japan. Like in general, even in Silicon Valley as well. So move on. So when you actually think about, okay, then I'm quite interested in joining a startup companies, but there are so many bad things, right? I have heard.
What we got is that making some focus on thinking was the goal of your thought. In this case, we are going to...
Oh, sorry, sir. Do you mind? We have a Q&A session afterwards. Do you mind if we have a good discussion afterwards? Yeah, sorry. So yeah, continue. You might think it's unstable to join a startup company, right? And you might think about other factors as well. Maybe they don't use new technologies, maybe they pay too low, or maybe there's too much overtime because you have to do everything, and all these bad things you have heard about IT startup. So I want to clear up some of it. Let's start with a really common one. This is like startup companies are usually unstable compared to traditional big, large corporation because it's always on the verge of dissolving. They might not have the cash or capital to keep it going. But is that true? Let's take a look at some example. So I want to remind you that at the early stage, like I mentioned, is indeed really risky. But what we usually call it in a business term is the valley of death. A lot of companies fail at this stage. But companies that make it out of this stage usually get pretty successful later on when it gets to Series A and B and then C. And then they get a constant revenue, flow of revenue. So let's take a look at a few examples. I have picked up just 3 companies. There are a lot of IT startups. Like I mentioned, 99.7% of Japanese companies are middle to small companies. So it's hard to pick everything, talk about every companies. But here's the 3 companies I want to talk about today. You might have heard of them somewhere. You might have seen their CM or commercial, right? But you might not notice that is that company. You don't really pay attention to the name most of the time, right? But actually, these 2 companies are really interesting. One of them is called Smart HR. This is Japanese leading human resource system company. And the other one is called Bellface. It's Japan's leading video call app. You might have a Zoom, like we're using Zoom right now. But actually in Japan, Bellface system is really popular among the salaryman in Japan, like the sales and people. I'm just going to talk shortly about it. So as you can see on the top left here, this is a chart about Smart HR's growth since Series C. As you can see, even though Smart HR is mainly used only in Japan domestically, their growth is up there, with globally well-known companies like Shopify and Twilio, and so on and so forth. So when you think of, oh, it's just a domestically famous company, it's pretty huge, like how much growth they gain. Just being in Japan. And you can imagine how it is if you're able to help them bring their application to overseas. It will make them even greater. And that's something you really need to think of when you're trying to join a startup company, is to think about the potential of the companies as well. And on the right side here, this is the chart for Bellface. This is all in Japanese. For you who don't read Japanese, this is basically showing that Bellface has seen a substantial growth from Series A and B and to C. Suddenly they grow of 25 billion yen in funding. So as I mentioned, when a company at Series A, they already know what they're doing and then they polish their product and get to Series C. Usually, you say really huge growth in both in the organization side and revenue and flow of money and so on. And then another interesting thing I want to talk about is, you might think, okay, so startups usually they just do what already exist in the market. They just copy things and make them better, right? But that's not necessarily the case. In Japan, actually, a lot of new tech are coming up from IT startups. For example, here I took up a company called Linkers. The CTO, Matt, I don't know if some of you have heard of him. He was actually the founder. He's actually the founder of Ruby, and he was actually the CTO of this startup called Linkers. Linkers is a pretty big company right now, but it's still a startup. It didn't win an IPO yet. And on the right side here, you see a picture of Matt with some employees, I believe. Yeah. And their system it's like a matching service, but it has been really successful. And right now, Matt is working as a advisor for Linkers as well. So another important thing about joining IT startup is for you to check out the background as well. Not just look at their homepage. Actually, search for interviews and news in Japan about these companies. Yeah, because usually their name is not out there. So you need to do your research or ask your recruiter if you happen to use a recruiter to find a job. So another thing is, so at the startup, the salary must be super low and the workload must be super crazy. I don't have time for it. I don't want to work I don't want to, sell my soul to my company. I just want to work there and skill up, right? But that's not necessarily the case in most of the time. Now let's talk about the salary first. You might think of, okay, the salary must be much lower than working at large corporation, but that's not necessarily the case. There are two reasons for that. One of it is if you join, it depends on when you join the company. Usually salary grows as the company grows. For example, if you join a company as a management level, as a like engineering manager, your salary is around 5 million. That is indeed lower than most of the large corporations out there. However, as the company grows to Series A and Series B and C, and even go IPO, usually you see your salary grows as the company grows. And of course, besides salary, you get so much more. You get so much more experience. You get so much more project management experience and other good benefits because you have been with the company for so long. You have been through hardship with the company. So it's all about what type of person you are. If you want intensification and you want money right now, then maybe look for startup companies at Series B or C. But if you're that type of person that look for a long shot, you want to grow as the company grows and then have a huge impact on the company, then maybe joining at earlier stage is something for you. So yeah, so that was that. And here's a quick chart about the salary growth in startup companies in Japan. Back in 2012, compared to Silicon Valley, it was indeed pretty low, even to today. But because in Japan, the salary is for IT employees is lower than Silicon Valley in general. But in 2012, the average annual salary for an IT employee was around 5 million. We are talking about an engineer with like 3 to 5 years experience here. And last year, the salary got to 7 million. So you see 2 million yen growth during the last, how many years? 7 years. And we can predict there will be a even larger growth in 2020 as the corona hits Japan. A lot of IT techs started coming to the surface and being needed, right? So, and another thing you need to think about is the organization size. You might, it's a common thought to think about the larger organization is, the more benefits you get, the more salary you get. But that's not necessarily the case. It really depends on what that company is doing. It's like thinking of like the company benefits as a pizza as a whole, like a pizza. Like your slice might get divided. You'll get a smaller slice if there are more people, right? But you might get a bigger slice because there are less people. And what you need to think about here is what the company is developing. Are they developing like marketing tools? Are they really focusing on marketing side of things? Then they probably need to hire more marketing specialists in helping the company grow. And in that case, your salary as IT engineer will get lower because they need to, pay people to do the marketing as well. But on the other hand, let's say it's the AI companies and they don't really need to do marketing that much, then maybe 10 AI engineers will do the work. Then the AI engineers will get what they put in, right? They get a bigger slice of the pizza. Think of it that way. So it's really important that you not just look at how many employees there are in the company, but also about all the different. Oh, it's okay. Okay. You need to also pay attention to what the company is doing and how do they divide this pizza. I mean, the revenue, right? And another thing is really important to think about before selecting a big company compared to IT startups is how much of the impact do you want to have at the company? How important do you want to be, and how much do you work? Do you want your work to be evaluated? It's like comparing, like, do you want to be a member of a huge, giant, powerful army? You know the army is going to win the war no matter what because it's huge, right? But you don't necessarily want to be just one of it. Like, your work can be replaced by any IT engineers out there, right? You want your work to have impact, then maybe joining IT startups is something more for you. Joining an IT startups is more like joining a elite SWAT team. You are a really important member of the group. It's a small group, but still powerful. So it really depends on what type of person you are, right? And another thing you need to think about when comparing large corporation to IT startups is the stock option. So nowadays, not all of them, but many of the IT startup companies actually offer stock option for you to buy a part of the company, to own a part of the company, even when if the IT startup is not IPO yet. At the large corporation, your work has less impact on the company as a whole. However, at IT startup companies, you have bigger impact, which means that the part of the company you own will grow as you make the company better. So that's really something you need to think about. How much do you want to invest in the company, and how much do you want to make impact in the workplace you'll be joining? Really important. Yeah, just a quick note. So what about the workload, right? So there are less people. Okay, fine. I understand that there are like 20 people compared to 1,000 at big companies, but do I have to do everything? Do I have to like fix my fix my manager's printer? Do I have to wash the toilet? That's not necessarily the case, right? You need to do a lot more at the IT startups. That's usually the case compared to a large corporation. Because large corporation, usually you just get to do what you are assigned to. You just need to do what you are supposed to do. However, at the IT startups, yes, you get to do many more things, but in a good way. You gain project management skills. So what I mean by that is, usually at the IT startups, you are required to understand the project development process as a whole. You don't just get to do programming. You don't just get to do the testing part. You don't just get to do maintenance part. You actually have to start from planning, be a part of the analysis and design the product, and then think of the selection of the tech or tools you are planning to use, what is more efficient, and then actually start executing it with a team and manage the team probably, and then get to testing and then maintenance and then release it. Right? It's like raising a child. If you are that type of person that just want to be responsible for the part of it, like you just want to be responsible for the elementary school period of the child, then okay, that's something for you. But if you're that type of person who want to see it grow, want to see growth and be part of it, and see it becomes an adult and be an individual, then startup is more for you, because you get to raise the child from the baby stage until it becomes adult, right? And in fact, a lot of hiring manager in Japan nowadays look into these type of skills. You don't like, it's easier to just replace a person who can just do programming, but it's harder to replace a person that can do more than programming. You can think of it that way. So when you're writing a resume, you don't know what else you should write on it to make yourself more unique, then this might be something you need to put on your resume. Yeah. And so a little bit about another topic. This is the technology part. So, okay, I joined startup, but I want to skill up. I want to constantly work with crazy people. I want to work with smart people. I want to skill up, right, as IT engineers. Like I mentioned, you can already skill up in terms of like learning things that is outside of just programming and development. Also the business side of things, and like in Japanese we call it yokenteigi. Like you actually have to design the product and so on. But other than that, you actually get to work with amazing IT engineers at many startups these days, actually in 2020. For example, we have a company here called Ku. If you're curious about the company, feel free to Google it. You find immediately. So the CEO is Masato-san. He was actually coming from a background from Google. He previously worked at Docomo and Sony. And because of his network, he was able to snatch IT engineers from this large corporation and work with him. And why does this happen? It's because there are a lot of people who work at large corporation. They gain the skills they need, and then they find out that they are limited to what they can do. So they want to start doing their own stuff. They want to solve social issues. They want to solve problems that have been in Japan for years. Then they start developing their own things and become independent and start their own companies. So this is a really common, how do you call it, situation in Japan. A lot of people actually do that. Another case is a company called Iglis. It's an AI data science company or an encryption company. So the founder was actually what is officially called AI monster in Japan, because he's just so good at what he does and he's so passionate about it too. Mr. Hiroki was originally a data scientist at the Silicon Valley, and he experienced the difference between the IT startup scenes in America and compared to Japan. So he wanted to change the work culture in Japan and make it better. So he decided to start his own company called Iglis not so long ago. And he has been really successful. As you can see here, talk with Jack Ma, and he attracts a lot of the other super experienced AI engineers out there. So that's something you really need to look. That's something you need to look at when you look at the homepage, not just the service. You need to check out the members, their background as well. And speaking of working with large corporation, actually, a lot of large corporations these days rely on startups tech from startup companies. For example, we have two companies here. One of them is called Popsicle. They have developed a service or product called Sellers Get that is really closely related to Amazon, and they have been working with Amazon for a long time now. And another company called Diglu is a blockchain company. They have been working closely with Microsoft to develop a blockchain platform. So actually, working as a startup company, you get a lot of chances to, work with IT large corporation in a more free way, with more freedom. You have more control over the product and have more impact on the product you're developing. And so, so I want to maybe give startup a try, right? How can it be how can it contribute to my success? How can I want to be a greater IT engineers? How can it help me? Right. So you can think of it like this way. You working as an IT startups, you have to do a lot more than just development. You have to learn the business side of things. Maybe you have to learn the whole project development process, and it's kind of like you have to you're gaining skills in a savanna like a lion, right? At a large corporation, most of the time you are in a stable environment and you get to just do what you need to do and you get it done. That's it, right? And it's more like a lion in a zoo. It's a stable environment, yes, and you get to do your things a lion. But it's all, which lion do you want to be? Here's the ultimate questions. Do you want to thrive and earn all these extra skills, or do you want to be great not just being, a programmer or just having the name of being in a certain famous zoo, right? And how much you want to get involved in the entire projects. That is something you need to think about as well. So to summarize all of these points I've talked about, basically at IT startup companies, you become a core member of the team. You're really important. A company needs you, and you have a lot of impact in what you do. It's kind of like being a member of the Power Rangers, right? One of them is needed. And also, what I have heard a lot of is that big companies, it takes so much time to get anything done. It takes so much more time to make any changes. It's going to be a disaster, but you cannot make any changes because you just need to go through your manager and the senior manager, and then the bucho, and then maybe the CEO and CTO. And it takes so much time. But at a startup company, usually that gets done so much quickly because you are so much closer with each other. You get to talk to your CTO on a daily basis. You get to work side by side with the CEO most of the time. So if you feel that way, then IT startups might be a good way to get out of that environment. And another interesting thing is, if you are aiming to be an entrepreneur in the future, or start your own thing, or create your own product, then I will definitely recommend to gain experience in an IT startup environment. Because I have met so many candidates that they leave their position at a large corporation and then join IT startup in order to learn not just about the whole development process and be part of the whole development process, but actually learn about the business side of things and start making a lot of impact in the company. And when they return home, they are able to start their own company and be the bridge between their home country and Japan. And because of the networking he has done during his time in Japan. So if you are someone with a goal like that, then IT startup is definitely something I will recommend. Yes. So is IT startups all about good things? Are there any bad things about IT startups? That's not necessarily the case. What you should be careful about when looking for IT companies, especially smaller IT companies, is that indeed you have more freedom in choosing what tech to use and how the product direction should go. However, you should be careful that if you're not that person that like to, face changes, you want a stable development environment and development policy, then make sure that the how to call it, the ideal and philosophy of the company is something you agree with. That is really important. Another thing when it comes to choosing company is check the characteristic of the company. Do they value speed over quality? Are you a person that pay more attention to the quality than just get things done quickly? Or do you want to invest more into research and development? Or are they just a company that want to push out product? That's something you need to pay attention to as well when you're looking for a company. And actually during a lot of interviews, that is something HR is trying to get out of you. They want to check if your character, your thinking matches the characteristic of the company as well. So that's something you need to keep in mind. When talking about interview and what is fitting to IT startups and in Japan, usually through my years of helping so many candidates, usually these three are the most important elements. One is to have a goal-driven personality. You know where you want to go. You know how to get there. It's just about execution. You need to move. You need to work on it. Because in a large corporation, yeah, things get decided on the top level, and then you just have to follow that and make it work. But as IT startups, that's not the case. You need to face changes and be unafraid to challenge new things and test out new ways to do things and make it more efficient make it less cost less, and so on. So at the same time, you need to be a person that like excitement, thrill, and changes, and unafraid to challenge new things and test out new technology. Another last element that is actually the most important one is the cultural fit perspective or aspect of the whole thing. Most of the companies seek a open-minded person because you are in such a close environment with your team, with your colleagues, that you need to understand each person have different background and they have different way of doing it, but you don't want to be confrontational. Japanese people hate confrontation, right? You need to able to adapt and convey your idea in a good way that is not confrontational. And another thing that is important to think about is the language barrier. Unfortunately, Japan is still really monocultural. Even though most IT engineers here in Japan able to read and write English to a certain extent, but most of them cannot really communicate. But if you want to come to Japan, you should maybe learn the language as well, right? But not saying that all companies require Japanese. It really depends on how many foreigners were able to get in before you, and how their culture is. For example, the company I talked about, English, they don't require any Japanese. However, they require more skills and experience. It's like keeping this balance. Do you have more skill? Then maybe you don't need as much Japanese. But do you just have like 2-3 years experience? Then maybe language will help you score the job you want. So here is a quick overview of some of the companies I've talked about today. If you're interested in knowing more about them, feel free to Google them up and check out similar companies. And actually, Jellyfish, these are our clients. Yeah, so if you have any questions about them, feel free to let me know in the chat. Our staff is working hard to collect your questions. Okay. And yeah, so that's basically it for the presentation. We'll enter Q&A session from now on. And if you guys want to stay, please stay and ask some questions and have an open discussion. However, if some of you need to leave for dinner or have other things to do, feel free to fill out our post-event survey, which will be posted in the chat just now. And get your Starbucks voucher, 500 yen voucher. It will be sent to your email after you fill out the survey. Yeah. And if you want more content and know more about Jellyfish or startup companies, make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, and we have a Facebook as well. And check out our webpage, mixes.jp. We post new content weekly to make sure that you are prepared for interviews. You know where the market is going in Japan. And as we are a recruitment agency, we are here to help you be successful in your journey. We always try our best to find, fitting position to all of our candidates. But, it's been hard since Corona time. I'm glad you guys are healthy as well. But if you are looking for a job in Japan and you want us to help you, feel free to fill out the survey and send us your resume with a short description about your background and your Japanese level and so on, and if you're living in Japan or not, because it's quite difficult to enter Japan nowadays. Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys so much. Here is the QR code for you guys who didn't find the link. Here's the QR code for you to scan to do the survey and get your voucher. Maybe get your latte or get your mocha or espresso. I like white mocha myself. Okay. All right, guys. Then, okay, we'll move on to Q&A session. Feel free to unmute your mic and have a chat, or just speak in the chat room. And let's see, what do we have here? Okay, let's pick out some questions. First question from Shamim. Is it possible to get an IT job in Japan without having JLPT? Yes, it is possible, totally possible, but you need to do way more research in what companies that also require Japanese. And they are really rare, especially in Tokyo, because they know a lot of IT engineers trying to get in Tokyo. So the competition is much fiercer. A lot of them can only speak Japanese, so you have to compete with those people, right? However, it's not much about having the certification. It's more about able to speak it and communicate. I have helped IT engineers that could not write a single word in Japanese, but he was fluent almost in speaking because he watched so much Japanese drama. It was quite hilarious. He just learned. I don't want to call the W word. You guys are familiar with it, but yeah, that's one way to do it. So the speaking part, definitely pay more attention to it, and don't focus too much on Keigo. Some of you guys be like, oh, I can't speak Keigo. What do I do? Usually they don't care much about Keigo. If you're a foreigner, if you just stick with Desmos, the standard formal form, then you're good. And from Hang Wong, thank you. Do you have the media figure instead of average mediums? Yes, we do. So let's see. We found I think we posted the link on chat. This is the median figure of all the jobs in Japan in general. How you can think of like business type of job usually gives less salary, but IT jobs usually have a higher standard. So for business side of things, usually for people in their 20s with like 1 or 2 years experience, it's around 2.4 million to 2.7 million. So you can think of it like an increase of 10% for IT engineers, so around 3 million to 4.5 million. And people at their 30s, usually it's around 3.3 million to 3.6 million yen. So for IT engineers, it will be somewhere around 4.5 million to 6 million. Yeah. So in people in the 40s, usually you require to have management skills or executive level of understanding of the business. Then you get more income or salary. Usually it's around 4 million to 4.5 million or even 5 million for normal employee. But for IT engineers, it's usually it's a bit higher, up to from 6 million to maybe 10 million. Or yeah. And when we talk about 10 million in Japan, usually it's like senior level in Silicon Valley, but you cannot really think of it that way. Because 10 million in Japan is really up to like CTO level or tech lead level of experience. So there is the unbalance, I think. Unfortunately, that's just how Japan works for now. Another question is, Jirsha, I would like to know what are some of the downside of starting an IT company, or in general, probably should be ready for. Better we talk about the upside, each of the risk.
The risk of making startup company in Japan.
Of joining startup company in Japan. Is that, or are you or starting? Do you want to start your own company? Is that?
That's your question?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Sorry. Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually want to know what are the risks of starting a startup company, and what will I actually encounter? I mean, will I have a problem? What kind of problems will I have for foreigners if I have to start a startup company here?
Startup companies in Japan. So first of all, there are a lot of documents you need to get through, lots of legal documents. But if you have someone to help you with it, that's fine. Also, although the risk really varies depending on the type of startup you want to start, because there are already a lot of like I mentioned, like 99.7% of the Japanese companies are small to medium size companies. So basically, a lot of people start companies like quickly like that in Japan, and usually. So if, let's say, if the company is Judaku Kaihatsu, like you receive project from clients and, have the IT team do the project and gain revenue through that way, that actually is a really competitive field. And wait a second, I just gotta show you a picture here. Because there are already so many companies doing that, right? And when you want to do that type of company, it's really hard for you to get out of the seed stage or the very first pre-seed stage and get investor actually invest in your company, because they have already seen similar company 1,000 times. You know what I mean? So if you're able to do your research and find that that service actually does not exist yet, or it's very few of them, and you know exactly how you can improve the existing, like do it better than the existing company, then it's a really good point for you. But however, to get out of pre-seed and seed stage and get investor invest in your company, that might be the hardest step for you to take on. So I highly recommend you to do a bit more research and have a plan on how you can come in contact with venture capitalists, and just have a talk with them first before making any concrete decision. Yeah. I know a venture capitalist company that is pretty famous in Japan. It's called Coral, Coral. I don't know if you've heard of it. They are really active in Japan, and actually Google Japan actually started a program to help startups as well. So that's some of the program you can check out. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. I hope it helped you. Yeah. Let's one. So we go through Rohit Kumar. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I'm so bad at it. What's the format of interview held by Japanese company? If do they like to focus on tech round, general HR round? So first off, and how many rounds of interview will be expected? What is the general screening process for the resume in interview? Okay, so it depends on if you are applying to through a agency or not, because applying through a recruitment agency in Japan is really common. However, when you apply, usually the HR person, it depends on the company. Usually they don't have any IT knowledge. They just look at the soft skills and your personality and your way of writing the resume, and they judge by that, and just number of years you write on your resume, right? But however, if you can find a company and you are sure that the person that do the screening is an engineer, then you might want to write more technical stuff on your resume to get through. However, let's stick with the standard case or normal case, right? Usually the HR do the screening. That's the first round. That's the screening process. And if you get through, usually they arrange the first interview where the HR, or maybe they bring another engineer along to do the interview and see how your personality is, and see if it's worth the time for them to invest more into you, right? And if you luckily, you show them that you have experience and skills, your personality is amazing, then you get to the first round. So here it depends on company. Some companies want to check more on the skill side, and they give you a programming test or assignment or a assessment that you have to get it done in a week or two. And some companies do not have these programming tests if they're able to confirm your skills, orally. And then usually there are second round. The second round is mostly, I'm talking about IT engineers, okay? It's quite different for business side of things, business side people. So for IT engineers, at the second round, usually you get to meet the tech lead or the people or the senior engineer or engineer actually working there, and they do the technical skill check by talking to you and ask you some algorithm problem solving solutions, and talk about, okay, we have these issues here right now, how do you solve it, and so on, and to check your fundamental and your understanding of your skill. And then usually that will be the last round. But most of the case, they want you to meet the CEO or the CTO at the end. At the very first last round, usually is already set, and they just want the CEO to confirm this person will be joining us. Do you approve or not? So most of the cases like 1 to 3 rounds of interviews. But you know, a recruitment agency might be able to help you shorten that process, because usually we help them filter out candidate that fits the role or candidate that does not fit the role. Yeah, usually it's much shorter than large corporation because there are less layers internally as well. So yeah, I hope it answered your questions. Okay, so we have these 2 questions here from Felicia. Hey, I would like to ask, I have 1 year and 2 months of full working experience as a software QA engineer, 2 years, and part-time QA work while studying in university. Oh, that's great. Recently, I just completed my study, so we should go to video game crash. Great. Okay, so here's the thing. I believe you have your work experience back home, not in Japan. One of the things when you apply directly, most of the case is that they only look at your experience after university if you don't write it clearly, because they just don't have the concept of you working full-time and studying in general. So usually they look at the experience after university and your experience in Japan. If you don't have any, you lose your age as a experienced IT engineers, because that will get skipped basically. And one thing recruitment agents in Japan is that we're able to make sure that they understand how it works in your country, and you know, show them the proof and evidence that you actually have the years of skills. So if you are lucky to able to find a company that you like, and you know that they look at your experience in your home country as well, then you are considered mid-career for sure with the 2 years of experience talk about. However, if you're not able to convince them that your experience during your study was actually valid, then unfortunately you might have to start from 0 and work your way up again. Yeah. And let's see, another question is I work as AI engineer in Japan. Wow, that's amazing. And have mastered and 4.5 experience. Wow, I do have communication. I would like to know how much will normal jobs could pay me. I have. Oh wow. Okay. May I ask? This is from the Manori-san. May I ask what field is it? When you talk about AI engineer, is it image recognition, or is it NLP, or is it
Can you hear me?
Oh yes, I can. Yes. Hello.
Yeah, I worked as an AI engineer.
Yes.
Machine learning and image recognition.
Image recognition. Okay.
Yeah.
And may I ask, can you tell me a little bit about the frameworks you usually use, or you are most experienced with?
I worked with HoloLens.
Okay.
And mostly I used HoloLens with I programmed for applications for HoloLens.
Okay.
And I used some AI techniques to, as example, to find the problems with the developed building and like that. I worked that kind of task because I couldn't say what I
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am sorry for that.
No
I'm
problem.
not allowed. So.
Yeah. So
that
you
kind of
use
things, yeah.
like you're familiar with TensorFlow or PyTorch, that type of like frequently used frameworks?
You asked from me about languages?
Not like TensorFlow or like PyTorch, like the Python frameworks?
Python, yeah, I could work Python and Java.
Yeah.
And those two I did work.
Okay. So usually IT engineers salary really getting higher and higher these days. And of course, when you may I ask your Japanese proficiency as well? How, let's say from
entry level.
Entry level, okay.
Yes.
So internal communication, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
Okay. Then I will say you should at least not you should, but it really depends on a lot of different factors.
Mhm.
However, you definitely have the ability to negotiate for a salary between 5 million yen up to 8 million yen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, as I
uh,
mentioned, when you get to like 8 million yen to 10 million yen range of salary,
Okay.
you don't just they don't just need you to be able to do programming and machine learning, but also other side of things. Let's say come up with ideas to improve and then solving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a bit. I want to do some innovative things
Oh
with
well, that's
AI.
great. Yeah.
So that's why I want to work with Japan. So
Oh, where are you now? Are you in Japan now, right?
no, because of Corona, I came to my country.
Oh
But
no. Okay.
but I do have visa in Japan.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
4 years visa. So I'm planning to come again. So I would like to have a better job.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned, we are recruitment agency ourselves. So feel free to send us your resume.
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll have a deeper conversation because we
Yes,
we
I
have
do
limited
understand
time
that.
today. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
so
much. Please. Yeah, please keep in touch and stay safe out there.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay, let's take this as last questions because we are close to 8 o'clock, and we'll be ending the session today.
I asked some questions. I am living in
Yeah,
Pakistan.
please.
I
Yes, welcome.
I live in Pakistan, but I want a job. Can I apply for in Japan as a IT engineer? Because I have 2 diplomas as a Cisco, as a CCNA.
Network engineer.
Yeah, networking engineering. CCNA also introduction in cybersecurity. But
That's amazing.
now I am a developer, PHP developer.
Oh, so you know PHP as well. Okay.
Some people told me that it's very difficult to get a job in a foreign country because jobs is very difficult.
Yes. So you can definitely get a job with your skills in Japan because and with your experience. However, it's really how to call it. Like Japan is open for foreigners to come in at the same time as they are not, in a sense that they are not ready to be fully open yet. It's like they just open a small door for you, and because Japan is still such a monocultural country, so when you compare Japan to, let's say, Germany or France, it's more difficult to find a good position in Japan without knowing the culture of Japan and maybe a little bit of language of Japan. And especially during the pandemic, the visa issues is there as well. So, but it's totally doable. We have a lot of networking position or infrastructure position. However, I don't know if you actually speak any Japanese right now, but if you don't, sorry.
I can't speak in Japanese.
Oh, you know a little bit Japanese?
No, I'm just in English.
Oh, okay. Then unfortunately, Japanese are still in the process of adapting English as a society. So, however, there's totally the possibility there, but the possibility is much lesser. It's much smaller compared to other countries, indeed. However, I do recommend you, if you really want to get to Japan and work with Japanese people and you like the culture, then definitely start spending the time to learn a decent level of Japanese, and you don't have to be really fluent.
I will try, but some people told me that if I apply as a job in Japan, it's necessary to I reside in Japan.
Yes.
It's necessary.
To reside in Japan?
For apply. I am in Pakistan now.
Yeah, most Japanese companies these days still prefer to meet you in person, so that they understand how it is to work with you in a real life situation. However, because of the pandemic, a lot of companies actually start adapting remote work and work remotely. So that might be an option to start freelancing with Japanese company or work overseas. How to find it's mostly because of the law as well. Because to become a permanent employee in Japanese company, you have to be in Japan and do all the other process than just be a part of the company. You have to register as an employee of a Japanese company and do all the documents as well. So there's a reason. Yeah.
I want to ask, when I am a part of a Japanese company, then I will reside there. But now I am in Pakistan. Can I apply in Japanese companies as a IT engineer? After the job confirm, I will come there. It's possible.
I won't say impossible, but definitely it's not impossible. It's possible, but it will be really hard. It'll be very difficult, like your friend told you. So I highly recommend you to maybe start freelancing with Japanese company, help them as a side gigs, and then get some connection.
Or then how can I get details that companies also hire as a freelancer?
Sorry?
How can I get the details of their companies? Who can hire the freelancer?
May I come in?
Yeah,
it's okay. Hi, Muhammad-san. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I am here.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, right now in the seminar, this is what we do, right? You have a lot of questions and William answers as a career consultant, but actually right now we are already like entering our end of the webinar. So if you still want to do a consultation about the IT and career with William, this is the service that we do. So I thank you so much for showing us the example, but I'm afraid that we have to end the consultation here. And then for the after this and for the discussion, if you fill the survey, you can contact us with more questions. So is it okay if I cut you here? I'm very sorry. Actually,
how can I contact with you?
If you fill the survey, you will see that we have a website. We have also a LinkedIn, and you can directly contact us. I will send you then in the chat right now.
Okay, so can I submit the survey as a letter summary?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can. This is what we do actually. We do career consultation, but if we do it right here in the seminar, I mean, it will be taking a long time. So so I'm sorry, but I have to cut you here. Is it okay?
Okay, no problem. I will submit the survey as some letter.
Yeah. Please. This is the survey. Yeah, this is the service that Jellyfish do. We do career consultation. We accept every question. So please contact us after this. And William-san, please.
Yeah. So thank you very much for joining us today. Yeah, thank you, Mohammed-san. Please submit your resume and ask us questions through email. We will do our best to answer you. So I don't know if you guys can turn on the video for just a moment, because Jellyfish, when we end things, we like to do this hand sign right here. This is as you can see, it's like a jellyfish, right? Yeah, for submitting to memorize or let's see. Oh, let me stop sharing for now. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you. Let's do this hand sign. This is like the jellyfish sign. Yeah, cool. And 3, 2, 1. Let's say jellyfish. Wait, I'll say what's the fish, and you guys say jellyfish. Okay. It's kind of stupid. I'm sorry, but. All right. Thank you guys for spending time with us. Okay, so are you guys ready? Let's go. Let's get Genki in the Corona. Let's fight Corona. Stay safe, everyone. So, what's the fish?
Jellyfish. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great evening, and I hope to see you guys again.
Okay, thank you.
Have a great day. Have a great evening.
Good evening. Bye.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Make sure you stop the survey and get your Starbucks, guys.
Sure. I love the latest flavor for this month, pumpkin flavor.
Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. I have completed my survey.
Thank you.
Please send us email. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great evening.
はい、お疲れ様でした。
お疲れ様でした。ありがとうございました。
エンドしますね。お疲れ様です。
またね。